Ask any BMW owner what they miss most about older BMWs. They won't say the power. They won't say the handling. They'll say the engine, the way it sounded, the way it responded, the way it made you feel connected to the car. Now ask a Porsche owner the same question. Same answer. Two completely different companies. Two completely different engine layouts. Inline-Six and flat-six, but the same loss. To understand what we lost, you need to understand what we had. And it starts with physics. A six-cylinder engine is inherently balanced. Whether it's BMW's Inline-Six or Porsche's flat-six, the firing order creates a perfect sequence of overlapping power strokes. Every 120 degrees of crankshaft rotation, another cylinder fires. There are no gaps, no dead spots, just a continuous, seamless wave of power. This is why six-cylinder engines feel smooth in a way that fours and eights simply don't. A four-cylinder has a natural vibration. A V8 has a loping, burbling character. But a six is pure. And when you take that purity and let it breathe naturally, without a turbocharger compressing and forcing the air, something incredibly magical happens. And it hits our hearts. BMW's naturally aspirated inline-sixes had a sound that no other engine could replicate. At low RPM, they had a deep, mechanical purr. 6 individual throttle responses combining into a gentle rumble. But above 4,000 RPM, the engine transformed. The intake note sharpened, the exhaust hardened, and the engine began to wail, a high-pitched, urgent scream that built and built all the way to the redline. That wail was the sound of an engine working hard. An engine that made its power by spinning fast, not by forcing air. Every horsepower was earned through revolutions, and you could hear the engine earning them. Porsche's naturally aspirated flat-six had a completely different character, but the same emotional effect. The flat-six doesn't wail, it barks. That distinctive Porsche sound comes from the boxer configuration, where opposing cylinders fire alternately, creating an offbeat, syncopated exhaust note that enthusiasts describe as a mechanical heartbeat. The Porsche 911, with the 3.8-litre naturally aspirated flat-six in the 991.1 generation, was, for many enthusiasts, the pinnacle. That engine revved to 9,000 RPM in GT3 form. 9,000. That's not an engine, that's an instrument. Both BMW and Porsche built engines that made people feel something. Not just fast, not just smooth, connected, in our hearts and minds. And then, they both, sadly, took it away. When BMW introduced the N54 twin-turbo in 2006, it was objectively spectacular. 300 horsepower from 3 litres, massive low-end torque, faster in every measurable way than the N52 it sat alongside. But something was different. The N54 made its peak torque at just 1,500 RPM. That meant full power was available almost immediately. No need to rev the engine, no need to work for it. Just press the throttle and the turbos did the rest. Enthusiasts described it as driving with a switch rather than a dial. The naturally aspirated engine was a dial. Every millimeter of throttle, every 100 RPM delivered a proportional response. You could modulate it, play it. The turbo engine was a switch, off or on, slow or fast. There was less nuance. And the sound. The N54 was hushed compared to the N52. The turbochargers acted as mufflers, absorbing the intake and exhaust frequencies that gave naturally aspirated engines their voice. What you heard instead was turbo whoosh. Impressive, yes it was, but unfortunately, not the same. Porsche's story is almost identical. In 2016, the 911 went turbocharged across the entire range for the first time. The 991.2 Carrera replaced the 3.4-litre naturally aspirated flat six with a 3-litre twin turbo. More power, more torque, better fuel economy, faster acceleration. Better in every way, and the specification sheets can most certainly demonstrate this. But Porsche enthusiasts were devastated. The distinctive flat six bark was gone, replaced by what reviewers called a generic turbocharged drone. The engine no longer rewarded high RPM driving because the power was already delivered down low. And then Porsche did something even more controversial with the 718 Boxster and Cayman. They didn't just add turbos, they also removed 2 entire cylinders. The beloved 3.4-litre naturally aspirated flat six was replaced by a 2-litre and 2.5-litre turbocharged flat four. Enthusiasts didn't just lose the natural aspiration, they lost the flat six entirely. The backlash was so intense that, some years later, Porsche did indeed eventually bring back a naturally aspirated 4-litre flat six for the GT4 and GTS models. They essentially admitted the flat four was a mistake, but the message was clear. If you wanted the real engine, you'd have to pay GT4 money for it. Here's the uncomfortable truth that both BMW and Porsche know but can't say publicly. You cannot make a turbocharged engine feel like a naturally aspirated one. And the reason is physics, not engineering skill. A naturally aspirated engine responds to throttle input at the speed of air. You open the throttle, air rushes in, combustion happens. The delay is measured in milliseconds. A turbocharged engine must wait for exhaust gases to spool the turbine. Even with modern twin-scroll turbos and electric wastegates, there is always a delay. It might be 100 milliseconds, it might be 50, but it's most definitely there. And the human body can feel it. A naturally aspirated engine's sound is determined entirely by its mechanical components. Every frequency you hear is the direct result of metal parts moving at speed. It's organic. A turbocharged engine sound is filtered through the turbocharger. The turbine absorbs exhaust energy, and in doing so, it dampens the frequencies that give an engine its voice. Porsche and BMW have both tried to compensate with sound symposers, devices that pipe artificial engine sound into the cabin through speakers. The fact that they had to build a speaker system to recreate a sound that used to come free from the engine tells you everything you need to know. A naturally aspirated engine makes more power the faster it spins. The power curve builds progressively. The excitement is in the chase. You're working with the engine, climbing towards peak power together. A turbocharged engine makes its peak torque low and holds it across a wide plateau. This is faster. This wins races. But the emotional experience is a flat line instead of a rising wave. There's no chase, no build, no crescendo. What happened to BMW and Porsche engines didn't happen in isolation. It happened alongside a much bigger shift in how we relate to our cars. In the 1990s, driving a fast car was an analog experience. The steering was hydraulic. The throttle was a physical cable. The gearbox was a manual. Every input went directly from your body to the machine. Today, BMW's drive-by-wire throttle is interpreted by a computer before reaching the engine. The steering is electric, and Porsche's PDK does the same, processing the driver's inputs through software before executing them. We didn't just lose an engine sound, we lost a philosophy. The philosophy that said, the driver is in charge. The car is a tool, not a partner. And the engine is a conversation between human and machine, not a presentation from machine to human. So is this just nostalgia? Are enthusiasts simply romanticizing the past? Partly, yes. Memory enhances experience. The BMW M54 in your E46 was probably louder and less refined than you remember. But the loss is also real, and we can prove it. Because when Porsche brought back the naturally aspirated 4-litre flat six in the GT4, every reviewer on Earth said the same thing. This is what was missing. The feeling returned. The connection returned. The sound returned. If it were purely nostalgia, the returning flat six would have disappointed. But it most certainly didn't disappoint. The loss was real, and the market confirmed it. GT4 prices immediately commanded premiums over their turbocharged equivalents. Sadly, BMW hasn't had the same moment of return. The N52 was the last naturally aspirated BMW Inline-Six, and its values are starting to climb. Because people are starting to realize what we told you in our last video. You always want what you can't have anymore. The naturally aspirated German engine isn't coming back, but it will never be forgotten. Because some things can't be measured on a dyno. Some things can't be improved with software. And some things, once they're gone, can never be recreated, no matter how good the engineering gets. Next time, we're staying with Porsche, because the story we started today doesn't end with the turbo taking over. Porsche did something that BMW never did. They listened to the backlash. They took a beloved flat six, killed it, replaced it with a turbocharged flat four, watched their most loyal customers revolt, and then did the unthinkable. They brought the flat six back. But the story of how they brought it back, why it took so long, and what it cost them is far more complicated than anyone realizes. Porsche killed the flat six. Then they resurrected it. If you want more untold stories about the engines, transmissions, and regulations that shaped automotive history, please do join us and subscribe. Thank you.